Thank you for attending today's Order of the Engineer ceremony. It's my pleasure to introduce the College of Engineering Dean, Dean Kim Needy. And she's also an Order of the Engineer member. Dean Needy is going to provide us with a welcome for today and some welcoming comments. Please join me in welcoming Dean Needy.
Thank you, Dr. Coffman. Is my microphone on? Is it on? Can you hear me in the back? Okay, great. So I'm very excited to be here today, and I just want to say to the students, you all look amazing. Very, very nice. So congratulations. You are an engineer. I hope you reflect on this important achievement that you've just made. I know that you've worked many long hours to reach this point in your life, and it wasn't always easy. I want to just share a personal story with you that maybe you can relate to. Growing up, when I did, like many young girls from my generation, I aspired to be a teacher. And this seemed to be a very rewarding profession, and I was surrounded by many female role models who influenced me. It wasn't until I entered high school that this idea of becoming an engineer really seemed like a possibility. In addition to having excellent skills in math and science and teachers who really encouraged me to pursue these studies, U.S. Steel Corporation, where I lived, sponsored what was called an Engineering Career Exploring Post at my high school. And this Career Exploring Post allowed students to hear from practicing engineers and gave us an opportunity to job shadow. And through this program, I actually took my very first flight on a military cargo plane that was equipped with hammock-like seats for paratroopers at the Pennsylvania Air National Guard. Now, of course, we didn't get to jump out of the plane and skydive or anything like that, but it was very thrilling for me just the same. The program, along with encouragement from my parents and teachers, inspired me to study engineering. Initially, I thought I wanted to study chemical engineering, but I was fortunate to attend a university program that had a first-year program that allowed us to examine other engineering programs. And when I discovered industrial engineering, I knew that that was the perfect fit for me. I've had many job titles throughout my career, including programmer analyst, project manager, systems analyst, professor, and dean. You might notice that I've never actually held a job title with the word engineer in it. Despite this, I've always proudly considered myself an engineer. Prior to becoming the Dean of the College of Engineering 2.5 years ago, I spent 6 years serving as the Dean of the Graduate School in International Education. And I remember clearly when I began that position, someone asking me how I liked it and how I felt about it, since now I wasn't doing engineering anymore. And I thought about that for a minute, and then I responded, "Are you kidding me? I'm practicing engineering each and every day. I problem solve, I determine how best to allocate scarce resources, I streamline systems to remove non-value added elements, I perform cost-benefit analyses, I oversee technical projects, and I develop people." I'm actually using much of my formal engineering education. And complemented with this work experience, I'm doing what I think great things. I realized I was practicing engineering. It was funny too, because in the graduate school, I was actually the only engineer that was working over there, and everyone thought I was a genius, with my skills. And I said, I'm not a genius, I'm just a good engineer. So why am I sharing this story with you? Because I know each and every one of you have your own stories about why you decided to study engineering, how you got here, and what you plan to do with your degree. And I'm sure that your stories are very interesting. So please do this. Remember to share your stories with others. Think about why you selected engineering. Think about who may have influenced or inspired you to study engineering and what you hope to do with your engineering degree. You may not know precisely, that's okay, but I predict that all of you will do something that's important and impactful. Think about how you will commit yourself to professional development and lifelong learning. How will you keep up with the many changing technologies that will occur over a span of 40 or 50 years? And you may think that that isn't going to happen, but believe me, it will go like this. Think about how you can influence others to enter this wonderful profession, because we need more engineers. Make sure your circle of influence includes others, and I'll say especially women and other underrepresented minorities, because these groups are grossly underrepresented in our ranks. As I reflect upon my own career, I'm extremely grateful because in my role today, I've achieved my childhood dream of becoming a teacher and an engineer. Fortunately for me, I'll always consider myself to be an engineer. So congratulations to all of you. Go out and do great things, and please be proud of your degree from the University of Arkansas, because we are certainly very proud of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dean Needy. The purpose of the Order of the Engineer is to call attention to the obligation of all engineers who use their technical education ethically in shaping the world around them. Ethical practice of engineering occasionally requires great courage and always requires we maintain the highest standards of personal integrity. The dictionary definition of a profession is an occupation, vocation, or vocation requiring training in the liberal arts and sciences and advanced study in a specialized field. By this definition, engineering is clearly a profession. Professionalism is more than this. Indeed, professionalism in its purest form calls for the dedication which transcends monetary or other private consideration. It requires integrity, a dedication to the ethical standards of your profession. In the case of engineers, this concept translates into an obligation to use our technical education ethically in shaping the world around us. And in these times, engineers are largely responsible for the products, processes, and structures that shape our society. I'll now welcome Dr. Julian Fairey. Dr. Fairey is Canadian, where the Order of the Engineer started, and he will tell us about the Order of the Engineer.
All right, everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes. All right. I am Canadian. I'm also an American, so don't worry. I speak both languages fluently. So, the Order of the Engineer was begun in 1926 when our engineering counterparts in Canada, so that's me, recognized the special obligation of engineers to one another, to the profession, and to the public they serve. They decided to recognize those willing to subscribe to the Code of Ethics for Engineers by inviting them to join the Order of the Engineer. Based on the model of our Canadian counterparts, the Order of the Engineer was established in the United States in 1970. As you are accepted into the Order, you will receive a steel ring to be worn on your little finger of your working hand. The history of the ring ceremony has to do with the construction of a bridge across the St. Lawrence River in Quebec in the early 1900s. It required several years to complete construction of the bridge, and on the morning of August 29th, 1907, it collapsed, becoming an ugly, tangled an ugly tangle of structural steel enclosed the bodies of 75 workmen. After an investigation, construction was started again, and on September 11, 1916, the center span was being raised. It fell again, killing 13 men. Didn't learn the lesson there, I did. The bridge was built for a third time, this time without incident. It was finished in 1917 and is still in use today. After accepting the obligation, you'll be presented with your steel ring. You are to wear the engineer's ring on the small finger of the working hand, so it will remind you every time that you sign a set of plans, contract documents, or design specifications of your obligation as an engineer. You must check and recheck your calculations before signing your name. The success of the engineering project and the lives of people may depend on your engineering work. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Coffman.
The ring you receive is a symbol of the strength and continuity of our profession. The engineer's ring, to all who see it, here's an engineer, a person with special technical knowledge and a publicly avowed dedication to the profession and public it serves. In Canada, the engineer's ring is a faceted ring, worn by those engineers accepted into the ritual of the calling of engineering in a private ceremony. Legend has it that the Canadian bridge failed because of a misplaced decimal point. Originally, the Canadian ring came from one of those twisted iron pipes from the first bridge failure that was sliced into rings and worn by engineers to remind them of their solemn responsibilities. The engineer's ring in the United States is a stainless steel ring worn on the fifth finger of the working hand by engineers who have accepted the obligation of an engineer in the ring ceremony. The significance of the ring is to remind each of us that even minor errors are important, and ethically we must do our best to protect the life, health, and safety of the public. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Hall to call out the list of inductees for this year.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to identify those who are proposing to take the obligation of the engineer. So as I call your name, if you would please stand and remain standing until all names have been called. And I would ask the audience to hold applause until all names have been called. First we have Sarah Ali, Hector Apodaca, Adam Baker, Kerlin Balza, Henry Bethel, Carter Bishop, Brendan Bome, Jack Caruana, Neil Chanchad, Reese Colford, Alexander Cook, Lance Cordes, Sidney Ehorn, Gabriel Ellis, Allison Espino, Gerson Fajardo, Oscar Ferguson Montoya, Kylie Folks, Elizabeth Francis, Benjamin Frederick, Colby Free, Samantha Garcia, Brighton Grisham, David Hammonds, Abigail Harris, Kaylee Harrison, Jackson Hedden, Whitney Hines, Samuel Hodges, Nicole Hooten, John Huff, Allison Hughes, Paris Joslin, Brianna Kilgore, Jacob Lane, Andrew Lita, Timothy Lofness, Kristen London, Micah Lopez, Luther Mackey, Heather Mahoney, Vitali Maldonado, Caleb Manley, Daniel Maxenberger, Sasha McCoy, Mari Carmen Navarro, Timothy Nunez, Josine Nwandwi, Jacob Ortlieb, Daniel Peraza, Winston Phillips, Mason Phipps. Michael Ponce. Devin Roberts. Angelina Sagardue. Seta Sahagian. Sorry. Jose Sandoval. Bafreen Schwan. Megan Smith. Claudia Smith. Justin Stump. Michael Thompson. Alexandria Tillery. Brandon Tipton. Rode Torres. Amber Veach. Nicholas Webb. Kathleen Weston. And John Paul Williams. Please join me in congratulating these students. We will now read the acceptance of the obligation. Each of you who possess an engineering education and are willing to subscribe to the Engineering Code of Ethics are now invited to join the Order of the Engineer and accept the Engineer's ring. In the same vein, each of you educated in computer science or atmospheric science is invited to join us in accepting the obligation of your profession. You must accept the obligation seriously and with pride in yourself and your profession. Please consider the words carefully and remember always that our special knowledge carries with it the obligation to serve humanity with complete sincerity, honesty, and integrity. We can never anticipate all the challenges that we shall face as we work on our designs, but we are honor-bound to foresee all that we can and keep the public welfare uppermost in our minds.
Please join me in reading the obligation of the engineer. It's found inside of your packet. You'll also need the ring that's inside of the packet right after we do the obligation. You'll come forward, make your receiving line, and be able to put your ring on through the large engineering ring that's there. You can find it on a small card or on the handout that's with you. Please join me in reciting this together. I am an engineer. In my profession, I take deep pride. To it, I know solemn obligations. As an engineer, I pledge to practice integrity and fair dealing, tolerance and respect, and to uphold devotion to the standards and the dignity of my profession. Conscious always that my skill carries with it the obligation to serve humanity by making the best use of Earth's precious wealth. As an engineer, I shall participate in none but honest enterprises. When needed, my skills and knowledge shall be given without reservation for the public good. In performance of the duty and with fidelity to my profession, I shall give my utmost. Please come and join. We'll have a receiving line and shake hands.
A structural engineer from Colorado, an award-winning author, states, "Charged with protecting the public's health, welfare, and safety, professional engineers play an extremely crucial part. The enormity of our responsibility requires that we be accurate and technically competent. But technical expertise alone is not everything. Being well-rounded citizens of the world requires engineers to develop a deep appreciation for history, travel, and the arts. It also requires that engineers maintain high ethics and never lose the desire to learn. I welcome you to your profession and wish you well in the exciting technical challenge before you in the coming years. Let this ceremony always remind you that professional ethics, with its associated commitment to public safety and welfare, comes before all else." Congratulations, engineers. You did it.